Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program video. In today's video we have a bit of a Starship that's kind of pinging by this plane. So air launch Starship, yes, we are going to be air launching a Starship. Because I thought that'd be a cool idea because hey, you know, air launching equals cool. Maybe, I don't know, there is actually some debate about the actual goodness of it in real life. But either way, it is cool in KSP. It's definitely very Kerbal to put a Starship between a plane and try and launch it. It's weird. It's really freaking big plane. It basically is like as wide as the entire runway if you include the wings. But we have just started our takeoff roll. Now I'm going to be lifting the nose up. We're going to give the plane a little bit of opportunity to kind of come on. You can do it. There we go. All right, it is now in the air. And we are going to be starting a left turn off of the runway because yes, we are not going to be going to equatorial because equatorial orbits are for plebs. We are going to be going to the north because we are going to be landing our Starship after the launch at a little northern Arctic facility I kind of made using a mod called Kerbal Construct, so I guess stay tuned to that. But we have just finished our turn. Now that we finished our turn northbound, you're going to begin to level the plane off and trying to accelerate ourselves towards our deployment speed of 619 meters a second, because why not? Once you reach that speed of 690 meters a second, we are going to enter a very, very steep climb up to around 18 kilometers in altitude. At that point, we are going to separate the Starship and it is going to head on its way, and the plane will be heading back to the runway. So we are now accelerating through 200 meters per second, and everything is looking good on board on the flight. While we are in the acceleration portion of the flight, I'd like to quickly get the plugs out of the way. If you would like to subscribe, that'd be very awesome, because I really want to get to 10,000 subscribers by April 20th, because, you know, 420, yes, awesome date. So, yeah, if you want to help, you know, you can the subscribe button. So thank you, everyone. Huge thanks to everyone who subscribed. You're getting really close, so, yeah, hugely appreciated. It's going to be awesome. 10K subs is pretty wild. So yeah, thanks everyone. And thank everyone who's also likes or comments or becomes a member, you know, Patreon members. Those are all awesome things. I'm gonna be getting some merch soon, so I don't know, maybe like 5 people maybe buy a shirt, maybe, hopefully, I don't know. Plugs, good plugs. So thank you everyone, but huge thing. And we also Discord server, epic, much epic Discord server, very epic. And here we are perfect timing to the end of the plugs, as we are now just about to hit 450 meters a second. The 440 to 450 meters a second zone is when the Rapiers really get most of their thrust, and we're going to really start to pick up in our acceleration. Rapiers are some pretty overpowered engines. They're insane. You should see how crazily we climb it. I basically pitch it first, so I go full throttle, then I pitch to maintain around 690 meters a second during our powered climb. And oh boy, does it really climbs. So there we are, just about to hit 600, and now I'm going to slowly start to pitch the aircraft up to enter into the climb, as we're now just crossing the 3 kilometer mark. There's 680, there's 690. Now we're going to really start to steepen up that climb rate. You know, there's a little bit of speed due to the G-forces and the aero forces, but this thing very, very quickly accelerates. We actually pitch to almost 45 degrees during this climb. We get almost a half a kilometer a second of vertical speed, so this thing is really zooming upwards as we are now getting ready to cross the 10 kilometer mark. So there is 10 kilometers. When we're getting ready for deployment altitude, I'm actually going to throttle the engines down just a little bit, just so our speed isn't like too crazy on deployment. And there we are, 15 kilometers, starting to throttle it down for deployment. Going to go ahead and drop the footage down to 1 time speed as we're going to be getting ready for deployment. There is 18 kilometers and deployment. There goes Starship. Going to switch to it and get the power all the way up to full, and it is going to go on its way. We'll switch back to the aircraft in just a second to do its landing, but right now we are going to be looking at Starship, which is now firing all 6 of its engines as it is crossing around 900 meters per second. And what's about to happen? Whoa! Double Starship. There's 2 of them. Oh my, so crazy. So I actually decided to split this into 2 missions. Not missions, but there is essentially 2 things we can do with the Starship that I thought would be cool. So one is we could get it to orbit, right? Orbit's fun, right? But we've seen orbit enough times on Starship, right? I just, you know, take Starship to orbit. So fun, yes. But that's one of them is going to be doing that. Is going to be heading up to orbit. That would be the left one is going to orbit. But the one on the right-hand side is actually going to be doing a point-to-point hop. So this is something that SpaceX has talked about doing for a while now, using Starship as kind of like an airliner to do like point-to-point hops. So the left Starship is going to be going all the way into orbit, but our right Starship is, as you can see, there's a little launch site in the Arctic, which we are going to be trying to set our trajectory, so we're going to be intersecting that location. So we're not going to be getting into orbit on the right-hand side one, because point-to-point, fun. I mean, air launching a Starship is not a realistic scenario, but to be honest, it would I think help with point-to-point if they want to do that. But the suborbital Starship has just finished its burn, so we're going to switch back to the orbital Starship. As this finishes up its burn, obviously it has to go a little bit further because it is obviously going to orbit, and the suborbital one is going suborbital. But we will switch back to it in just a moment as as our orbital Starship will get ready to do its circularization burn into its low Kerbin orbit. But like, yeah, I think, because depending on how much you fill Starship up with and how much payload you put into it, a normal Starship can't lift off the ground without super heavy. Doesn't have enough TWR. So, you know, if you used a plane, this would be one massive plane. You'd like I don't think, like, Stratolaunch is the biggest plane, and this thing would need to be like 3 times bigger than Stratolaunch. Like, it is crazy. But speaking of planes, as our orbital Starship just got into orbit, we can switch back to our plane, which is going to be heading back to the KSP. After watching plane land, then we'll go watch our suborbital Starship, which will hopefully be at the Arctic by then. You can check out my kind of lame Arctic base, but you'll see. Judge for yourself. But so we are now going to be cutting the engine and basically entering a dive with our plane and doing a turn back. So the reason we're doing that is because obviously you want as little speed as possible, because when you're heading away from the runway, you want to not be going very fast, because you want to get there quicker, right? And also we want to get low because there's more bite to the atmosphere, and the atmospheric pressure is higher, so that you're more stable. You can do the turn easier when you're lower. But we have now turned back, and now we're going to throttle the engines back up, and we're going to accelerate one more time to do our hypersonic cruise. So we're going to throttle up, and we're going to climb up to around 10 kilometers in altitude, and we're going to maintain around 1 kilometer a second of speed for our very fast cruise back to the KSP. And look how little throttle I'm using. That is crazy how little throttle I'm using to maintain a kilometer a second. Like, holy crap, this thing is either really aerodynamic or those rapiers just have gobs of thrust. Like, holy crap. But and just like that, we're back. So we're gonna be cutting the engine nice and early, because we still need time to slow down, because a kilometer a second is very fast. So we're slowing down now, transitioning from hypersonic to supersonic speeds. Now I'm going to be getting ready to come into the runway. You can see we're just coming to the left-hand side of the runway a little bit, because we need to be able to make the right-hand turn to kind of line up with the runway. And this thing does not turn very well. So yeah, we kind of have to do this like weird climbing turn. That we have really poor rural control, so like straightening it out was honestly half the battle. But we have the landing gear down now, and this thing was actually a bit of a challenge to land, because it is very wide. It is wide plane, and it's kind of hard to fit the landing gear on the runway, so you kind of have to line it up quite well. But either way, we're coming in now. I'm going to maintain around 100 meters a second for our final approach speed, as we are now just coming in at below 200 meters a second. Going to come over the runway in 1 time speed. Now going to cut the throttle, and I'm just going to try and hover it over the runway, coming for a nice little smoothish. How was that landing, guys? Was that good? Was that buttery? Best landing ever? Or is that like a Ryanair? I don't know. I think that was one of the better landings I did actually with this thing. But now we're going to roll it out to the end of the runway, and we can get ready to switch back to our point-to-point epic Starship, which is going to be getting ready for its landing at the Arctic. It's really just I imported a VAB and a spaceplane hangar. I made them bigger, and that's my little Arctic area. And we have a little landing pad, so we're going to be landing like in between a VAB, and it's kind of cool. I think it's cool. But either way, we are now starting our entry or re-entry back into Kerbin. This Arctic is basically directly at the North Pole. It's not quite at the North Pole, but it's pretty darn close. It's going to start to come into view in just a second. You can see they're just off the right side of that top fin of Starship as we are coming in for our entry, trying to get that angle set right, so we get right on top of our destination as we come out of the entry, and you can start to transition to the belly flap as the aero surfaces start to take effect. And the camera's kind of weird at the North Pole, so it's kind of, you see this like kind of twisty of the camera. It's not really as bad on other attempts where we like flew directly over it. Everything was like spinning in circles, the camera. But either way, we are now in the belly flop, and you can see that there is the VAB on the right-hand side, the spatial plane on the left-hand side, and there is that little speck in the middle. That is our landing pad. That's where we're going to be coming in. And those, the space plane and those VAB are like, they're double sized, so they're pretty chunky buildings. If you don't know, this mod called Kerbal Constructs, which actually is what allows us to do some import stuff. Great mod, you should get it. It's on Seeking. It's only okay, yeah. So get mod, good mod. So 3 kilometers out, and we're gonna be just flying this like any normal start. So you're gonna be landing 3 engines, then dropping down to 1 engine for the final landing burn here. Through 1.5 kilometers, I'm gonna drop it down to 110 speed at 1 kilometer. There we go. And now there's 900 meters, 800 meters, 700 meters, getting ready to relay now, 600 meters, 500, and there go the 3 edges, gonna start the flip maneuver, and flip maneuver looks good, dropping it down to 1 engine right now. Gonna drop the landing legs, and now it's just a matter of bringing it down nice and softly onto the landing pad. And controlling. Touchdown! Not bad. Good landing, I think. Maybe. A little bit off center, but it is actually, I don't know if this is just me, but I find it very difficult to control the Starship with only 1 engine burning. It is very, very tricky, but that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. So on screen now is all the members. Look to become a member, get the join button. So thanks to all the members. Also have all the Patreons. Thank you to all the Patreons. But that is going to be it for me today. So I would like to thank you for watching. Until next time, please order a comment to the video once again. Thank you for watching. Until next time, and bye.